Hi, everybody. That's a hard act to follow, by the way. Time to get the celebration started. Anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Doug, Grace's dad. I get to be in charge for about the next 5 minutes, so listen up. I want to welcome everybody tonight who came for this beautiful ceremony to join these two young people together for what I and everyone hopes will be the ride of your lives. Speaking of rides, a lot of people traveled a long way to be here tonight. We've got family from Seattle. I think that takes the distance award. Am I right? There. Texas and South Carolina. We got members of the Kirkman clan from Mississippi, Louisiana, North Carolina. And we've got friends from South Florida to all points north to Birmingham. Thank you all for being with us today. It means a lot to me, and it does to our bride and groom as well. I want to mention someone special who sadly is no longer with us. That's my terrific sister-in-law, Grace's Aunt Paulette. She would have loved everything about today, sweetie, and especially seeing you so happy. We miss you dearly, Paulette. I'd like to say a heartfelt thanks to my new in-laws, Nick's parents, Steve and Lisa. That was a wonderful rehearsal dinner last night, and it was really great to see everyone and meet new faces. More than that, I want to thank you for raising such a fine young man, who we are thrilled to welcome into our family. I feel kind of like I've won the lottery. A big thank you from the bottom of my heart to my wonderful wife of 42 years, Donna, who with the help of our great wedding planner, Stephanie, has really done all the hefty lifting, putting together today's events. I only had to do the work of the food and wine tasting, really. Other than that, in my wife's words, you only have one job, the welcome toast. Get busy. Grace, my beautiful girl, it seems like just yesterday that I was tucking you in, telling you bedtime stories about Princess Polly and her pony. You'd lie down and you would twirl your hair in your finger. You get it so tangled up, sometimes I had to cut it out with scissors. Now look at you, all grown up, so beautiful. New career, new home, great husband. Your mother and I are so proud and happy for you, sweetie. Nick, from the time Grace was small, her mom and I promised that we would buy her all the books that she would care to read. And you know she's a pretty ravenous reader. Yeah, she reads faster than she texts, and if everybody knows Grace, that's really saying something. So anyway, I will now formally turn over my job of keeping her in reading material to you. Two other pieces of advice for you. First, watch the thermostat. As a dad, I can tell you the price of a reasonable power bill is constant vigilance because Grace likes it cold. Secondly, you might consider renting a self-storage unit for a place to put the shoes. To both of you, one last piece of advice from an old, still happily married guy. Marriage is a wonderful thing. It requires a little work, too. Stay each other's best friends. Nick, an old friend told me to always give as much time and passion to your wife as you would give towards your best client at work. Grace, if you devote as much time and attention to Nick as you're going to spend grading papers from here on, it will be a lot. Appreciate one another. Remind yourselves how lucky you are to have found each other in this big wide world. Remember that most everything else will work out just fine. Nick, let me tell you how happy I am that you and Grace found each other. I've gotten to know that you're a smart, hardworking, capable guy. No matter what your best man says about you later. Okay. Donna and I are both thrilled to have you in the family. The fact that you can do our taxes and you know your way around a grill and a smoker is icing on the brisket, so to speak. Welcome to our family, Nick.
Thank you.
Now, if everyone will please join me in raising a glass to our happy couple. Grace, Nick, may the love of your newly extended families pour over into your life together. May you experience all the joy and happiness that a really good marriage can bring. May you stay happy, healthy, and prosperous. And may your marriage bring more love into your lives every passing year. God bless you both. To Nick and Grace, cheers. Once again, thank you everybody for being here tonight. Welcome to you.
All right. I'm Mimi, and I have had the privilege of being Grace's maid of honor. Grace has been my best friend for my entire life. In fact, our parents were friends before we were born, so we didn't really have a choice, but it turned out well, and I had a really hard time picking just a few stories to tell tonight. We went to Happy Land preschool together, and then we graduated to elementary school, where in the first grade, Grace and I had a system. She would tell me what boys she had a crush on. I would run to them at recess, deliver the message, and come back and tell her what had happened. Well, keep in mind, in the first grade, we were wearing limited to gauchos, the stretchy pants, Crocs for sure with at least 7 gibbets, and thin wire-framed glasses. So when that inevitably didn't work, we would play our favorite game in Grace's backyard in the treehouse, where we would pretend that one of the Disney princes was our boyfriend. Grace would always pick Prince Eric, which I did not appreciate because I liked Prince Eric. So naturally, I would choose Aladdin or Prince Charming, and we would continue on. In middle school, instead of playing outside, we played on the computer. We rocked the heck out of Zoo Tycoon and Sims. But if you know Grace, you know sharing isn't her favorite thing. So it really turned out Grace playing on the computer while we would watch her play. In high school, we did everything together. We were in the same clubs, in the same classes, our lockers were next to each other, and if you saw one of us, the other probably wasn't that far behind. We went our separate ways in college. Grace to UF, I went to Alabama, but hey, there we go. Thank you, real tight. And we'll throw our Go Gators, it's her wedding. There we go. But to all my college friends, she became known as Grace, quote, my best friend from home. And I would say that to the point of ad nauseum when they finally said, Mimi, we know who Grace is. We would keep each other updated on our life events, and every time we came home, we would meet and talk about what shenanigans were happening. And I will never forget the time that Grace called me in the middle of the night because she was concerned that she was being catfished by someone. And I was on the phone while she was breaking into some apartment complex to make sure that she was not, in fact, getting catfished. Now, I don't remember the way that story ended, but it clearly didn't work out. Nick, we're glad you're here. And I think she was getting catfished. So I will never forget the first time that I heard about Nick. It was peak COVID season, and Grace, our friend Abby, and I would meet at Lincoln Park in the gazebo with our Clorox and our Windex and spray everything down and talk about what boys were happening and what was going on in our lives. And it was Grace's turn to spill the tea, and she said, so I met this guy. Now, this may just be a me thing or it's a girl thing, but the first thing I needed to know was what is his last name? Because if this worked out, it's my job as her friend to make sure she had a good name. Well, Grace Kirkman absolutely passed the test. Now, she had only gone on one date with him, and she didn't know much about him yet, but the way she talked about him, I knew that he was different. The first time Nick came with us to one of our Chapala Mexican food sessions, I remember thinking, now what are we going to talk about if he's here? I quickly found out that Nick is the kindest, most genuine tax nerd who cares so much for my best friend. I finally felt like she was with someone who appreciated her for all she is and would take care of her the way she deserved to be. Grace literally got engaged, bought a house, found her destined career path, and started a job, while I completed maybe one semester of PA school. But seeing my best friend happy, fulfilled, with a family who loves her, and who's learning to stand up for what she needs has been one of the happiest joys of my life. Nick takes such good care of Grace, and that extends to all of her friends too. I know she will always be loved, appreciated, valued, and heard, and that is all I've ever wanted from her. Now, I must say, Nick and Prince Eric do have a few things that are different. Nick has at least 1 foot of height on him, and if you have a castle, please let me know. But it has been the absolute honor of my life to see the two of them find their happy ending, and to be here to celebrate with both of you today. So, to Grace and Nick.
Let's fold the pocket square. Take the square and that's the wrong speech. Sorry, guys. Best man speech. Got it. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I am certainly looking forward to making this guy sweat a little bit for the next few minutes. So buckle up, buddy. No, I won't pick on him too badly. For those of you who have yet to meet me, my name is Jared. I am Nick's brother-in-law, and I drew the short straw and was chosen to be Nick's best man. I promise this speech isn't full of brisket, bacon, or bourbon like he initially asked me to do. And I also promise to keep this speech very short because, after all, Nick is infamous for saying that the best man speech should not last longer than the groom does in bed. So, you're vindicated. You're vindicated. Yeah. So, as most of you probably know, Nick and I met in college at Southern Miss, and I remember Laura, his sister, had invited me to come study with her at the library at what I thought was our first date. And so there's where she introduced me to Nick, and I remember I was so annoyed at Laura, thinking that this guy was actually competition. And she quickly clarified, no, this is my brother. And, you know, it was a lot less angry at the time. So a few days go by, and I'm playing basketball at the intramural center at college. And, of course, I break my leg, so I'm very injury prone. And he happened to be the manager on duty at the time for the intramural center. And he sees me break my leg, and he says, well, that looks like a lot of paperwork, and he just leaves. And he abandons me in my time of need. But ever since that day he left me there on the gym floor, I've actually gotten to know the true Nick. He's very helpful, especially at giving the best advice on bourbons to drink or ways to cook, and I mean literally any kind of meat. He's very hardworking, and he's willing to slave over a smoker for 14 hours just so his family can have a brisket for a Sunday dinner. He's very generous and very giving with his time, so much that if you're ever debating with him, he's willing to take the time to Google all the various reasons of why he is right and you are wrong. He's also very dependable, and I know I can always count on this guy to join me at the gym for a hard leg day, even though we know the next day we're both not going to be able to sit on the toilet. But between bonding over that time that you and I were covered head to toe in poison ivy, and and you had to go to the hospital for that, or being voluntold to move what feels like everyone we know, the furniture of everyone we know, I've not only grown to value you as a brother-in-law, but as a brother that I've never had. I'm so happy you found a wonderful wife that's also your best friend, and she brings out the best in you. And I'm glad you found someone to share your life with and start a family with. You both deserve one another, and I know you're both going to make a great life together. You're surrounded by people who love you very much and wish you all the happiness in the world. And I know that no matter what life throws at the two of you, you're always going to have each other's love as well as all of ours. So with that in mind, and on behalf of everyone here, I want to say congratulations and cheers to a marriage that is long, happy, and healthy, to Nick and Grace. Amen.